All right, thank you so much for joining in and welcome to the bootcamp about data analytics, visualization, and storytelling from TARQ Technologies. This is Ahmed Abdullah. It's my pleasure to be with you during this 3 days bootcamp where we are going to discuss lots of topics related to data analytics, the visualization, and storytelling. Thank you so much for joining in on time. I believe we can still wait for a couple of minutes for more participants to join in. So we will be just starting in 5 minutes. Thank you so much. All right, so let's get started. Thank you so much for joining in and welcome one more time. So, what we will be covering during this bootcamp, what we are aiming to. During this bootcamp, we would like to highlight on a couple of main concepts about data. So first, we need to explore why and how data is changing the way we are living today. So we are having huge amount of data and information. Maybe this is a new era. This is a new thing that we are experiencing during the new days. And I believe that we are lucky. The people who are living in this time, they are lucky based on the amount of data that we have. We have lots of parameters around us, lots of data sources where we can highlight fantastic insights. We can grab and we can come up with beautiful decisions by looking at the data. This data is the main reason behind these huge and massive AI models that we are looking at right now. They are the reason why we can build these fascinating applications that can actually take very interesting decisions, that can do very interesting tasks. It's all about data. But the point is, it's not only about having the data in place, it's about how we are approaching the data. And there is a quote I always like to mention, and I always remind myself of this quote, and I would like to share it with you as well. And the quote says that data is going to tell the secrets if you let data speak. Data has lots of secrets to tell, but we need to let data speak. And by letting the data speak, I mean we shouldn't prejudge the data. We shouldn't take our decisions up front and then we grab the data and create reports. And we are aiming to have the data verifying what we are thinking of. Because if we have done this, we are not letting the data speak. We are trying to make the data tell us what we do not know. This is the whole aim of the visualization and the storytelling. When it comes to data visualization and storytelling, we go through a data pipeline, and this data pipeline, it has three major stages. The first stage is looking at the data and understanding the data. The second stage is answering the very important and fundamental question, how this data is going to help us. Once we have this answer, we come to the third stage where we can utilize this data to communicate this solution to others. Because while you are learning about the data, you will be uncovering some secrets, you will be uncovering some new insights. But when you think about it, you will find that people around you don't have to be fully convinced about what you are saying. So it's very important that you are capable of convincing them about what you have found in the data. And these are the three main stages that we are going to follow during our bootcamp. Okay, so before we get started, there is a short survey, a short data collection point that I would like to share with you. I'll be sharing with you this survey very quickly. It's just a couple of questions that we will be answering in an interactive manner. We will be answering them together and we will be highlighting on these answers. I'm going to share with you right now a QR code and the link. Please feel free to join that and start answering the first question together. Can you see my screen? Okay, not yet. Okay, that makes sense because I didn't share it yet. But I'm just making sure that you're still aware with me. Okay, cool. Now you should, right? Awesome. Perfect. Okay. So, yeah, great. So, during this survey, we have two very simple questions. You will be able to join this survey by either scanning the QR code or just joining menti.com, and I'll be sharing with you uh, a quiz number. So if you cannot, for any reason, share or connect or scan this QR code, just let me know. But this should be simple and you should be able to do it. So we have 5 participants in the quiz right now, 6. That's great. 7, 8. You will find the thumbs up. Please hit the thumbs up just to make sure that your presence is counted. Perfect. Great. Okay, thank you so much. Someone is smashing the like button. Thank you. I wish that was on YouTube, so every click would be counting. Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Okay, one more minute. We got 13 participants in. Okay, awesome. So we can get started. Let's jump to the first question. The first question is very simple. What comes into your mind when you hear the word visualization? Feel free to describe this in small and simple words. Charts. Okay. Display, trends, graphs, charts and graphs. Okay. Now you need the QR code. Okay, your answers are still there. I've just got back to share the QR code one more time. Are we good? Yeah, perfect. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. Graphs, charts, pie charts. Okay. I like this specific. Someone is being very specific about special kind of charts. Dashboards, trends, Power BI, TV. Okay. I'm curious about TV. Why do you think TV is some sort of visualization? We'll be discussing this. Analytics, clear data, dashboards, charts, trends. Observe. I like this one. See, display, dashboards. The use of visuals. Yeah, I like this one as well. Yeah. Okay, let me just, it's a QR code. You can just get it from here. Sorry. Start over. Anyone is still trying to join, you can just scan the QR code. Okay, perfect, thanks. Okay, so our responses are still there. Understanding facts. Yeah, I like this one as well. Representation of data. That's awesome. Okay, perfect. This is great. So one very simple question. Dashboard charts display. Okay, perfect. One very simple question. Do you count the way we are displaying the answers right now? Is it some kind of visualization? Does it count? It's not a chart. What we are seeing, we are not putting the words, we are not putting the answers in a chart. But do you think it counts as visualization? Yeah, yes, perfect. We are getting multiple agreement that this is some sort of visualization. Yes, absolutely. This is absolutely right. And visualization is how to tell your audience something without words. This is the main thing about visualization, how to deliver a message. And this is why when we are trying to build a visualization, we should start by highlighting the message. This is the main goal of the visualization. And I keep asking this question. Whenever you are building a dashboard, whenever you are building a chart, if this chart is not being built with a message in your mind that you are trying to deliver to your audience, make sure that each and every one on your audience is going to receive a message, but it's going to be different than what you are trying to say. So, in order to build a good visualization, we have two major conditions. It's not about colors. It's not about the size. It's not about the type of the visualization. We have two other factors that comes even before that. And these factors are, in order to build a good visualization, you should have a message. First, there should be a message that you are trying to deliver. And this message is going to determine everything else based on the message that you are trying to deliver. The second factor of judging whether this chart is good enough or not is, have you successfully delivered this message or not? So if you have a message and you could successfully deliver it, congratulations, you have a successful and a very good visualization chart. If one of these is missing, you are not delivering a good, or you are not delivering a value in. And this is interesting because once you start explaining the chart, the tile as a message, you will be looking at the dashboard as a story. Because if I'm telling you multiple statements, if I'm telling you something about fancy place, and I'm telling you some, or I'm showing you some statistics about this place, and then I'm showing you another message about something that's happening in there. Let's say, for example, we are in a garden, and this garden has some people, and there are some ice cream selling carts, for example. So you are trying to explain each part of your dashboard as a message, as a statement. Once you start looking and thinking and treating your dashboard like that, your dashboard will automatically turn into a story. Story contains some statements, some messages that are being delivered one after one. And once you look at your dashboard, it contains some tiles. So the main thing that we are going to do during this bootcamp is we are going to rethink about how we build dashboards. I know that many of us have been involved with creating and analyzing and generating dashboards for a long time. And we will try to look at the dashboards and the charts that we are building from a little bit different perspective. As I mentioned, we will be treating the dashboard as the story. Each tile inside the dashboard is going to be chapter in that story. So the first thing is, what is the aim? What is the message? Now, so we will be applying this very fundamental rule on that visualization that you have just created. Please have a look on that visualization and tell me what would be the message behind this visualization. In other words, what comes into your mind? Now let's try to shift a little bit. Now let's imagine that you are not part of this chart. You didn't answer, you didn't provide your inputs on that chart. Let's imagine that you are someone who is analyzing these results. And I'm telling you that we have invited some of the data professionals and we have asked them a question, and we found their answers are coming like this. As an analyst, as an external observer, what would be the first thought that come into your mind when once you look at this chart? about visualization and about the people who has came up with these answers. Let's pause for a moment, think about it, and I have a sip of coffee and begin. Hmm. Can we say that this chart is highlighting the main feeling, the main idea about visualization at this group of people? This is highlighting exactly how these people who has answered these or has built this visualization, how they look to visualization. So yeah, we can say that. And there is another interesting thing because as fair, and once you start working with data and uncovering insights using data, you will not be able to stop. So you will be, and from my perspective, you should be even doing this on your day-to-day routine. You are collecting data about yourself. You are collecting data about the things around you. You are collecting data about your activities. And you can build very interesting visualizations. And trust me on that, you will be able to discover very interesting facts about yourself. You will be thinking about yourself that you like stuff, you hate some stuff motivates you, some stuff holds you back, but with data, you will be getting a different perspective. Anyways, we'll be coming to this discussion later on. Let's get back to this chart. As I have mentioned, this chart is highlighting the main meaning, the main understanding of visualization to this audience. One of the interesting things that I mentioned I do in continuous phases is sharing same question with multiple groups of people and screenshot these results. And trust me on that. Every time we are doing it with a different group of people, what's highlighted in the middle, which means it has been answered the most or it has been repeated, it's different. And this is telling us very important thing. If you are asking the same question to multiple groups of people, they might have different understanding, different perspectives of the same thing. And this is not only about the data or about the visualization or storytelling, even in other factors. So in other programs and boot camps, especially, for example, if we are talking about something that's very technical, something like cybersecurity, and I'm mentioning the name of one of the cyber attacks. Yes, and by the way, I do lots of activities on the cybersecurity, but I didn't try to mention this in the beginning so you feel safe while you're scanning the QR code. Once I tell people that I'm into cybersecurity and I'm sharing a QR code or a link, everyone just gets suspicious. So it was safe. Anyways, when I start asking one team working in a company for a couple of years about something that they are working with on daily basis, some very fascinating surprises come because people are going to describe the same thing that they all know and they are all involved in working with on daily basis. They are going to define or provide different ideas about. They are going to explain it in a different ways. And because this is the core of their business, but this is highlighting something which is very important. It's highlighting how each and every one among the team is looking at it. It's highlighting the perspective. And once you are looking at an object, imagine that there is a 3D object. There is a car, for example, on the street, and you're looking to this car from front of you. Someone else is looking from the side. Someone else is looking from the top. Someone else is sitting inside the car. It's the same car, but we have different perspectives and we have different ideas about it. Visualization is about summarizing the data into a certain perspective. And this is why we are getting back to the same very important and the fundamental point. It's about the message. It's about the aim. Once you start looking at the data and you are trying to visualize it, do not jump directly to the visualization. We have two steps we should go through before we build the dashboard. The first one is the aim. What do you need from this data? One day, I have been approached by a client, and that client was a training company. And this is a real story. They asked me to build a dashboard using their data company. So they are having some data about training programs they have delivered, some feedback, some trainer evaluations, some revenue streams, and they wanted to build a dashboard using this data. And my short, quick answer to their question was, sorry, I can't. And they told me that, no, we know you can. And I said that, I'm sorry, I cannot build a dashboard using your data. I can build 100 different dashboards using your data. I cannot just build the dashboard by providing me the data. What do you want to tell? Is there a certain message you would like to provide? Is there a hypothesis that you would like to prove true or false? Is there some decision that you would like to make? Would you like, for example, to grant a raise or a bonus to the employees in that data center? So you would like to highlight all the achievements, or you would like to fire the training manager, so you will be highlighting on the failures. What do you want to present? And this is a huge power in the data visualization, because once you present the visual, you have delivered the message. And most of time, people are not tracing back to the data. So now you have the microphone. Now you can speak on behalf of the data. But in order to speak on behalf of the data and make sure that you are telling the truth, you need to let the data speak to you first. And these are the two stages that we are going to talk about. Once you get the data, we will be building two different kind of visualizations. And this is what we will be doing in a practical manner together during this bootcamp. We will grab the data and we are going to build one visualization form. That visualization is not going to be presented, or it's not going to be communicated with the audience. This visualization is being created by us for us. So we start by understanding the data. After we understand the data, we can form the message, and then we are going to build the other visualization, which is going to be later on communicated with the audience. Why do we need these two different types of visualization? Because in the beginning, we are not sure. We do not know. We are still waiting for the data to speak. So in the first visualization stage, you let the data speak, and then after you know what about the data and you know your audience, you know what message you would like to deliver, at that point of time, you are going to build your final dashboard. I'll be sharing with you data sheets, and it's real data, and we will be trying to answer a question. So our problem that we are going to solve is going to be like this. I'm going to provide you with a CSV file, and then I'm going to ask you a question, a business question. It's a business case. You have the data and you know the business need. In between is the main activity. This is what we will be doing just in a couple of minutes. But before we do this, we need to answer one last question. And this question is about data-driven decision. What does data-driven decision mean to you? If you have left the quiz by any means and you would like to join one more time, I can show you the QR code, or you can just from your browser go to this site, menti.com, menti.com, and place this code. Let me also share the link on the chat. Okay, data-driven decision is backed with facts. Okay. Inference, okay. Facts back with states, okay. The insights from data, perfect. Evidence-based, perfect. Five responses, anyone else? Insight from data, the insights from data, okay. Emphasize on using data, perfect. Actionable insights, thank you so much, I like this one. Data make the right action, okay. Awesome. Actionable insights, facts back all the states, the insights from data, action based on insights. So it's basically actions and insights, results achieved, evidence based. Perfect. Great. Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So, yeah, more using analyzed data. Okay. Results achieved. Perfect. Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. So I said that's our last question. Yeah, it is officially the last one. The other one is just a quick survey. So if you believe that at your side, even if it is an organization or a university or somewhere else where you're studying, if you are currently or you had been before in a place where decisions are being made based on data, please put a thumbs up or any reaction on the chat on Zoom. Okay, one, two, only two. Okay, three. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay. So if we are not taking decisions based on data, what we are using for taking decisions. What is the ground? How we are taking decisions if we are not involving data? Personal opinion, previous experience. Yeah, most of the time this is what's happening. In most of organization, we find that most of decisions are being made based on personal opinion or previous experience. And we might not be at certain point of time, we might not be able to distinguish between them because my personal opinion basically is going to be based on my previous experience. But there is a catch. When I'm telling you that I am a person with 20 years of an experience in a certain field, how knowledgeable I am about what is happening now and in the soon future. Let me rephrase that. If I'm telling you that I'm a person with 20 years of experience, it means that I'm a person with 20 years of experience in the past. How likely what we have seen is going to be similar to what we are seeing and what we are going to see. This is how much my previous experience is going to be valid. And I believe that if we brought this idea into discussion, most of people are going to agree on what we are living with today. It's new. What we are doing today, it's new. The way we are running our business nowadays, the new technology, the shifts that are happening in the market. It's something new. We have never seen this before. And what is happening, going to happen tomorrow, it is completely different than what's happening today. So 20 years back, we didn't have AI and agents. We didn't have this huge amount of machine learning. We didn't have this very high expectation from our customers. So based on these facts, I would say that my 20 years of experience might not be very good to take the correct ultimate decisions about what's happening today and what's happening tomorrow. Does it mean that my previous experience is useless? Not at all. But my previous experience is very good and very effective to tune the decision coming from there, to drive the insights coming from there. And there is always a question that I like to ask. If I'm asking you, what are the main things? What are the main factors that are going to make you happy while you are working? What makes you stay more and longer in your job? We have always these answers. Some people are going to talk about the salary, incentives. Some other people are going to talk about experience. Some other people are going to talk about work-life balance. So if you ask someone who has a great experience about this, they are going to give you something based on their experience. What you are going to have, not necessarily about changing in the time, even if that same expert has left his company and he went to another company and he asked the same question, he will be getting different answers. Tomorrow, we will be getting different answers. If you are tracking your own life, you will find that the answer to this question is going to be different if you are a fresh grad and after 5 years of experience, after 10 years of experience, and after 30 years of experience, you will be giving different answer. So our experience that we have built, we should agree on that it is a generic experience. It's something that we can utilize to judge or to drive the insights generally. But if you would like to take a specific decision about this specific organization, about this specific team, about this specific period of time, you should consult what reflects this exact situation. And there is nothing reflects what's actually happening but data. Does it make sense? Yes, no. Yeah, yes. Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Great. Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much for your precious answers. I'll keep these answers and I'm going to share it with you because they are telling a lot. These answers are very important. So I'm going to screenshot that and I'm going to screenshot the answers from previous question as well. And I'm going to share them with you on the chat. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. So let's get back to our slides and start diving into the data. Okay, I'm sharing the answers on the chat. Sorry. Perfect. Okay, awesome. So let me get back and share my screen one more time. Okay, perfect. So what we will be covering during these 3 days, as we have mentioned, we start by talking about the data technologies, how we acquire data, where does data come from. We will be talking about how we start looking at the data from an analytical point of view. We will not be getting into anything technical, so you'll not be writing code or creating Python scripts or anything of that manner. However, I always encourage everyone, if you can, learn something about analytical tools, something like Python or R, as long as you are interested in the data, is going to be very helpful. And I always receive this question, should I learn Python even if I'm going to work on the business intelligence side? It means that I'm going only to generate reports and design dashboards. Do I need to learn Python? And the answer to this is very simple. If you are working in a certain field and you are responsible for using only 5 tools, learning the sixth tool is going to be always useful. If you can learn more, you will be able to cover more of the stack. So if you can only, or you are only focusing on um, working with clean data, generating reports, and creating dashboards out of this data, this is going to be awesome and this is great. But if you can expand your area of knowledge and experience to include something else, which is grabbing data or cleaning the data, you will be a more capable member in the team, because other members of the team, they just require, or they can only work with clean and final data. You can work with both, so it's just increasing, stretching in your capabilities. However, do not get this wrong when I'm saying that if you are focusing on data and you are interested in learning something new, you shouldn't lose your focus. By the end, if my focus is the business intelligence, I know where my focus and what are my essential skills and what are the extra or additional skills. We'll be talking about some techniques and quick things that we can do with data. We'll be talking about definitely data visualization techniques and what makes our visual a good visual or not that good visual. And finally, we are going to talk about the storytelling and the data-driven decision. I'm always combining the data-driven decision with storytelling for a very important reason, which is whenever you are building a dashboard, and we agreed on that, once we start speaking about the dashboard, we are going to present it as story. Each part, each tile of the dashboard is presenting a part of the story, is telling some statement about this story. Once you are creating, or while you are creating this dashboard, you should keep in mind that you are creating this not for the sake of having a dashboard. And this is one of the major pitfalls that we usually see. Something like, once you start creating a dashboard or creating a report, we shouldn't be doing this just to convert the data from the numbering format to the coloring. It's not about coloring something. It's not about making the data look beautiful. It's about making the data useful. And this is why if you have designed your dashboard and you told the story and your audience are not capable of taking a decision, it means that the whole process didn't work very well. So we need to make sure that your data are going to be useful, are going to be presented in a useful manner so that you will be able to take a decision. And this is why you will find lots of visualizations are around us. They are designed for decision making. a very common visualization form that can be spotted in a little bit very out of the box place, which is your car dashboard. It's not technically a dashboard, it's not a Power BI dashboard, but it's called a dashboard for a reason. Among your dashboard, you will find meters and you will find lots of numbers. Out of all these numbers, you will find the heat meter. And even in the most digitized cars, you will still find this heat meter in an analog form. Why? Don't you think with all this technology, we can replace this heat meter with a number? So instead of showing you, is it cold, medium, or hot? We cannot just display to the car driver the exact temperature inside the engine. We can, right? Do you have any doubt that we can do this? Definitely we can. Not only this, instead of displaying the heat, I can display a chart tracking the heat over time. Why we don't do this? Why we don't see this? Why it's always something like either a meter and some scale highlighting how something like thermometer and a scale or some analog meter showing you is it cold, normal, or high. Why we are not presenting the actual temperature or the tracking of the temperature as well, actually. Why? Any thoughts? Anyone would like to unmute and speak? It's totally fine. We are all ears.
Yes, Mr. Ahmed.
Please.
Yeah, maybe we want to deliver a direct message that it's high temperature.
Yes. Thank you so much. Please.
It's the driver.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much. It's basically what we have been talking about. We have lots of data we have inside our engine, inside the car central computer. We have all the details, and the temperature is being measured continuously. So in this database or data set, we have the temperature right now and 1 minute ago and 30 seconds ago. You have lots of temperatures are there. So you have the value and you can present it in Celsius or Fahrenheit. But the question is, it's not about how you display the data. It's about how to deliver the correct message so that your audience can take the correct decision. And when you think from the perspective of your audience, you will find that the car driver is not interested to know the temperature, and this is why you shouldn't present the temperature to them. On the other hand, your car driver is interested in taking only one decision. Should I keep moving or should I stop? So if it is Boolean, if it is yes or no, it should be presented that way. Another thing, lots of other indicators inside the dashboard, you are just turned off by default. And if there is something you need to take care of, it's going to be highlighted. So for example, something about the oil, it's going to show you an indicator if there is a problem with the oil level, but it is not showing you the oil level continuously. Why that? Because visualization is about displaying what is necessary when it is necessary and how to judge or how to take the decision if this is necessary or not. It's not something that you can do generally speaking. It's something very specific about the use case. Because if we are trying to expand this thought about the car, you will find that if there is something wrong with the car and you brought your car into the maintenance center, The people at the maintenance center are not going to be interested in showing or displaying or tracking if the temperature is very high or very low. They will be connecting their devices and they will be able to see some other perspective of the data, how the temperature of the engine is going to be changed over time because they are doing some maintenance and they would like to see the reflection of that on the temperature. You have the same data in the same data source. Two different users are demanding two different perspectives because each and every one would like to take a different decision. The maintenance guy would like to exactly understand what makes the temperature goes high. So he would like to track it on a linear base. On the other hand, the driver would like to look at the same exact data source, but he is interested in taking a simpler decision. And this is why the chart should be only providing this with this simplicity. So this is what we will be doing. This is what we will be sharing. We will start by exploring uh, uh, simple data plot, and we will be building on this multiple decisions. So we will be trying to highlight. I'm going to share with you a link, and inside this link, there are a couple of data files. These data files are realistic data for HR departments, so they are data of employees. I'm going to share the link right now and you will be able to look at the data. And then I'm going to ask you some questions, and we will be spending the rest amount of the time that we have using visualization and storytelling to answer these questions. Let me share this link with you. Here we go. This is the Google Drive link. Please let me know if you are having any issues accessing Google Drive. Is it working? Okay, perfect. I'm going to share the link as well on the chat, just in case. Okay, perfect. Thanks. Okay, so we will be working with the first HR file. I'm going to open it up. So this file is what we are going to use for building a dashboard. We'll be building a dashboard to present the data inside this file. Let me just share my screen and we'll start thinking about it. One of the very important thing that we are going to learn together during this bootcamp is how to build a mindset about approaching the data. For example, one of the major things that most of people worry about when it comes to visualization is the answer of this question. What should I present and how do I present it? I didn't see anyone struggling or having any issue um, selecting the colors for their visualization. It's not the major aspect. And it is not always, it might be a little bit common, but it's not also major that you have a question or you are worried about what kind of charts that you should be using. Most of people are having a different kind of struggle. What are the data points that I should be presenting? And here, if you are looking at this parameters, how many charts can be built? Anyone would like to give a number? How many charts can be built using this data? Uncountable, yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah, endless. Very well. Thank you. Perfect. Another question. Are they all useful? 10. This is very, very specific. Okay. If you say a lower number than 10, I would ask you to count them. So I would ask you to enumerate them. If you would like to enumerate them and tell us this and this and that. Okay, 10 as well. Okay, perfect. Okay. So this makes me wonder why you're saying 10. Because we have this answer twice. So definitely there is a reason behind it. Anyone would like to tell us?
Probably the number of fields that are available.
Yeah, because of
Perfect. Yeah,
the
counting.
columns that we have. Okay. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Yes, this is right. And this is what we are trying to say in here. So, for example, and blindly, and I believe that this is the very important thing that we should be building while we are learning anything new. When I say this for the first time, most of people start thinking or wondering about it because it might sound a little bit weird, but this is what I believe in. And after time, you will be able to relate to this very well. I believe that the skill is about doing something without thinking. Once you hear this for the first time, you might be a little bit confused about how I'm going to be skilled about something, and in the same time, I'm not thinking about it. Skill comes from lots of thinking and lots of good decisions and good practicing. But in order to be skilled at something, it means that you have thought about it a lot until you came up with your own methodology so that you are capable of doing what you are doing without even thinking. Does it make sense? Being skilled at something. And most of the time, I might be giving an example relevant to football, but I don't want to start the fight right now. And most of people out there, you understand what kind of fight that I mean if I started talking about who is skilled in the football. Do you? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, yes, exactly. So, okay, so irrespective of this fight, what I'm saying is being skilled at something, it means that you are capable of doing it without thinking. It doesn't mean that you are doing it in a dumb way or without actually thinking, but I mean that you have done it lots of time until you came up with your own methodology that you feel comfortable with, and you are just applying it without thinking about it each and every time. You can apply this on the way you are driving your car. You're driving your car without thinking. In the beginning, while you started learning, you had to think about everything. You are going to freeze, shift the gear. If you are driving a manual car, lots of things that you are thinking about it. Now you are no longer thinking about it. What we are trying to do is we are trying to build a methodology. So once you start looking at this file, you have came up with a very interesting insight, which is if I'm looking at file and this file is having multiple parameters, the number of charts that I can come up with is equal to the number of columns or the number of properties that we are trying to present. This is a very good approach. Now I'm going to add something else to this. First, I'm going to tell you a methodology. I'm going to tell you simple steps that you can follow so you will find that you can end up with a good chart, a good dashboard very quickly without thinking much about it. So you can keep your thinking and you can keep your brain energy to enhance and optimize later on. So this is how I work when I got presented with such a field. Step number one, you should determine what you are tracking. And this is what we call an output. For example, I can say here in that field or in this sheet, I can highlight multiple parameters, can be an output and very interesting outputs to be tracked. For example, I can highlight this column. Left, I would like to relate the parameters of the employees and the parameter of their working experience to the fact whether they have left or they have stayed. This is something I can track, and it's very useful. This is one of the perspectives that can help me take a decision in the retention. You remember a couple of minutes back, we said that with the same exact data set, you can look from different perspectives. And from each one of these perspectives, you will be able to take a completely different decision. So you can have a lock on whether this user has left or not. So this might be your output. From that perspective, you are going to turn the rest of the table as inputs. So for example, you might be able to identify a relationship between the time spent at the company with whether this user or this employee has left or not. You might be relating the average monthly hours achieved by this employee about whether they have left or not. This is going to highlight very interesting thing, which is how much work-life balance is impacting your employees' life cycle. And the same thing is not, you can expand the same idea to any other type of data sets. We have other data sets, for example, about patients. If you would like to highlight, for example, what is causing a certain type of disease, you can relate this to different columns. So you have some kind of genetics, some geographical location, some health and food habits, lots of things, and you can find very interesting relationships between these parameters and the output that you are tracking. So for example, from the first perspective, if we are trying to answer the question, how to retain our employees. So as I mentioned, this is always the case. You have the data and you have a business problem. We are starting at that level. The data is here and we have a business problem. So if the data or if the business problem is about the turnover, I would like to reduce the turnover. I would like to retain my employees for longer periods. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my output, which is left or not, as the first step. And then I'm going to try to find what are the parameters that are influencing this field. How I'm going to do that? Simply, I can start accounting, getting the average monthly hours in the case of leaving or in the case of the staying. I'm going to check whether the work accident is impacting the leave state or not. The satisfaction level, I can see how it's impacting leave state. So lots of things, lots of parameters are impacting this code. So far, so good. Do you have any questions so far? Because I'm going to shift a little bit in the same data set. I would like to make sure that the first use case is quite clear. Yes, no? If you got any questions, please let me know. Okay, no questions. Perfect. Okay. Now, I'm going to present a completely different business problem. And we are going to solve this other business problem using the same exact data. The first problem was about retention, right? We would like to reduce the turnover rate in our company. Now I have a completely different problem, which is not relevant to the turnover. It's about increasing the performance of our employees. Do you think that there is a relationship between the evaluation and the time spent in the company? So I can say that my output is the last evaluation, and I would like to see whether the time spent in the company, the more time, maybe the more time people are spending in the company, the more they are capable and in having better knowledge about the policies and how to be good performance. So it's going to increase their evaluation. The number of projects that they are working on might be impacting their evaluation. The number of hours they are working per month, is it impacting their evaluation? Yes. So last evaluation in that second use case, it became the output and other parameters are influencing it. So my goal is not to build the dashboard directly. And this is what's interesting about it. And this is why I told you that we are going through three phases process. At the beginning, we are looking at the data. Secondly, we are trying to understand the data. We are still away from building the final dashboard, which is going to be presented to the customer. We are not yet confirming the story that's going to be told. We are still exploring the data. So while we are exploring the data, we might be using visualization. So for example, I'm going to tell you that I would like to find the relationship between the number of projects and the last evaluation. So I'm going to build a chart which is showing me how the number of projects is influencing the evaluation. I'm going to look for a trend. Are they going up together, going down together, or randomly? Till this point, I don't know. And each one of them is telling me a different story. Each one of them is telling me a different fact about what's happening on the ground. I can start looking at the time spent at the company and the evaluation. And this is an interesting one, and I would like to know what you think about it. So, what do you think is going to look like if we started plotting the time spent in the company versus the evaluation? Do you think that the evaluation is going to be higher as the employees are spending more time in the company, or is going to be lower? Is it a positive relationship? The more time you spend in the company, the higher evaluation you're getting? Higher, so it's positive, yeah. Higher. Okay. Any other thoughts? Positive relationship. Interesting. Positive relationship. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. What we are saying is logical, but in most of cases, what is logical is not actual. What do we mean by logical and actual? What is the difference between these two different words? This is what we are going to see next. Stay tuned. I believe now it might be a good time for having a short break. So before we leave to the break, let me just put the bookmark and we are getting back to it. So right now, in the beginning of this session, we started exploring what do we mean by visualization and what do we need visualization. And we said that when it comes to visualization, it's not about converting the numbers into colors and the charts, because while we are doing this, we have lots of different ways of accomplishing this task. So it's not about beautifying the data, it's about making the data useful. And in order to make it useful, it depends on the audience, and not only the audience, it depends on the use case. And now we have got another example where we are looking at the data of employees, and among this data, we can track lots of things. So we can highlight the turnover column, and we start creating the relationship between that column and other columns. So we are trying to answer how other parameters are impacting the state of this employee, whether they are continuing in the company or they are leaving. On the other hand, I can define another aspect where I can use the last evaluation as a parameter. The last evaluation, which is going to be used as an output in the second case, it was an input in the first case, because I can create a relationship to see how this evaluation is impacting whether this person is continuing in the company or not. And then we asked a very interesting question. Do you think that the relationship between the time spent in the company, is it going to be a positive or a negative relationship with the last evaluation? And we got very logical aspect and very logical answer that the relationship is going to be positive. And I ended my conversation by this statement: there is a difference between what is logical and what is actual. What do we mean by this, and why we should care, and being able to distinguish between what is logical and what's actual? This is what we are going to discuss just in a couple of minutes. We will be having a short break, as a few minutes break, and we will be getting back at 30 past something based on where you are in the world. So please enjoy your short break, bring your favorite coffee or favorite drink, because we will be having some interesting discussion once we get back from the break. Thank you so much. I'll see you in 15 minutes. What was that question? We said that there is a difference between what is actual and what is logical. We can say that whenever we are taking a decision, if we are not involving data, we usually take a decision based on what is logical. But once you start involving data, you are taking a decision based on what is actual. Does this make sense, or we need to clarify this a little bit? Is it clear or no? Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Just want to check the chat. Yeah, we are trying to find the difference between what is logical and what's actual. And in order to understand this, we can say that in the previous example that we have been discussing, we could expect that the more years your employees are spending in the company, this should be having a positive impact on their evaluation. What we have said is actually logical. Logically, this is what we are expecting. But the very important point is, and this is where you can see the real power of the data, which is, can we explain from business perspective a chart like this? Is it explainable? This one on the right? Do you think at any working environment, you can explain that with more time being spent in the company, the performance of the employees is going to decay? Any thoughts? What about a toxic environment? What if the company is not treating the employees well? Yes, exactly. Thank you so much, Christian. Exactly. This is absolutely right. And this is what is amazing about involving data, because lots of time you will find that different things, you will find contradicting thoughts, both are logical. So if I'm telling you that the more time the employees are spending in the company is having a positive impact on their evaluation, this is logical. I'm telling you that the more time they are spending in the company, their performance is decaying. This is also logical. And this is why I always say that do yourself and do your team a favor, and whenever you can, stop any discussion where people are discussing logical point of views. Do not go to this discussion. And let me give you an example. Let's say that we are having some bad performance from some team members or some teams or some departments. There is an issue at certain place in the company. And while you are involved in a meeting and you are trying to discuss what would be the solution, your employee number one said that I believe that people can provide better performance if they got paid well. So let's increase the salaries and they are going to perform well. Employee number 2 said that I believe that employees are not performing well because we are not applying the punishment system. If we started applying the punishment system and being more restricted, people are going to perform better. Which point of view do you agree with? The first one, increasing the salaries, or the second one, applying more restricted policy? Which one would you go with? Which one you think is going to be more effective? Please put on the chat 1 or 2. If you agree that increasing the salaries is going to be better, just put 1. If you think that applying more restricted policy is going to be more effective, just put on the chat number 2. Okay, thank you, Rola. Salary, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. Okay, number 1. Okay, cool. Number 2, okay. Perfect. Number 1. Yeah, maybe there is no policy. Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense as well. Thank you so much, Mohammed. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, I believe that we will be having different perspectives about which one is going to be more effective. But do you think that both are logical? So if you are comparing the solution as increasing the salary or applying the policy, from a logical point of view, both are correct and both should work. And this is why, this is what I mentioned in the beginning. Do yourself a favor. And whenever you see a discussion between two persons discussing logical point of views, if you can stop this discussion, please go ahead and stop it. And if you cannot stop this discussion and you can leave the room, just leave the room. Because this is an endless argument. Yeah, and it makes sense because we are discussing logical point of view. When I'm telling you that salary is going to make your employees perform better, I have my evidence based on my previous experience. And based on your previous experience, you have seen that policy has been more effective. But remember that we are not involved in the past. We are involved in the present, which is more likely different situation. And this is why we shouldn't take the decisions based on what is logical. And what is logical here means on the previous experience, because each one of your employees might have a different experience in a different company. So the logical point of view is not going to be effective. What is going to be effective is the actual point of view. And in order to see which one of them is the actual, this is where we should consult the data. Let's have a look on the data. Why we should interfere with the data, why we should bring in our experience and start applying our previous experience and our previous thoughts on a situation that most of likely is going to be new. We are having something that is reflecting the actual situation, which is data. And this is where we should let data speak. So whenever you are involved in such a discussion and people are telling you that what is impacting the performance, is it the salary or the policy from a logical perspective, I'm going to say that both are possible. Both are logical. which one of them is actual? We need to consult the data because the data is reflecting not the logical thinking, not the generic idea. It's reflecting what is happening right now in this organization with this exact team. Maybe this exact team is having some lack of discipline. So increasing the salaries is going to make things worse. You should be applying a policy. Maybe that team is highly motivated and they are disciplined, but you are not paying them well. So if you are adding more intensive, they are going to give you a better performance. So it depends on the case. And this is where we start taking the data into the first stage. Let me here plot the three stages that we have discussed. We say that we are always starting with data, and we would like to solve business problem. And this business problem is going to be solved by making a decision. And we say that this decision is going to be triple D. What does triple D stand for?
Data-driven decisions.
Yes, exactly. This is absolutely right. It's data-driven decision. That's absolutely right. And we are going to take this decision by building dashboard. But in order to build this dashboard, so this is our second stage of visualization, we have another stage of visualization, which is what we call the internal visualization or the analytical visualization. Where I start building multiple charts, not to be presented, but to understand. So in the beginning, I need to understand the problem, and then I'm going to communicate the solution. So I need to understand first. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Christian. Yes, I need to understand the problem first, and then I'm going to communicate the solution. For example, in what we are seeing, if I'm telling you that my business problem is about reducing the turnover, I would like to reduce the turnover, and the data that we are having is the data of the HR. You are going to tell me that my first step is going to select the output column. And in our case, the output column is going to be the column which is called left. I'm going to track whether this customer has left the company or this employee has left the company or not yet. Okay. The second step is defining the inputs that are influencing the leaf. So what are the influencing parameters? Once you find the relationship between what you are trying to track and how the other parameters are influencing it, by looking at the visualization at that point of time, you will be able to take the decision, which you are going to communicate in the dashboard later on. For example, I might be creating something like this. Let me get back to the sheet so we can have a look on how we are going to approach it for visualization. I would like to check how other parameters are influencing the decision whether this person has completed or staying in the company or they have left. Do you think that there is a relation between this state and work accident? Yes or no? Yes, no. Yeah. People are having work accents. Definitely, this is going to impact if they are staying in the company or not. The time spent in the company, the average monthly hours. So, as I mentioned, we are going to build the methodology, and the methodology goes like this. First, define your output. In this case, my output is going to be column G, which is the left. Secondly, I'm going to define the influencing parameters. Third, I'm going to plot what I'm tracking versus the inputs. By looking at this, you will be able to present or to drive some insights. You will be able to uncover some relationships. These relationships might be logical and matching your logic, or it might not be logical. And here comes the very important point. What if you are plotting this stage, for example, which is left, and you are comparing it with work accident, and you found that the people who had work accidents are staying in the company more than the people who didn't have work accidents. Is it logical? Yes, no. Who should be staying in the company and who should leave? No, yes, it is not logical. Yeah, exactly, it is not. Most likely the people who are not staying in the company or the people who have work accident, most likely they are going to leave. Okay. Do you think that the people who are spending or the people who are low achievers, are they going to stay in the company or they are going to leave? The low achievers, they are going to leave. Yes, this is absolutely right. So as we have mentioned, we are going to follow a very systematic approach. First step, select your output. My output in this case, I'm tracking the leave state. Secondly, I'm going to define the inputs. Thirdly, I'm going to define the relationship between these inputs and the output. And guess what? In order to define this relationship, the best way to do it is through visualization. And this is why I said we use visualization for different purposes. We use visualization first for ourselves so that we can understand the problem. We can understand what we would like to highlight. And later on, we are going to use visualization one more time to highlight on the interesting stuff. So in the first stage, while we are building visuals, in the beginning, you will find that these visuals, some of them are interesting and some of them are useless. So we are going to discard them. We are not going to include them into the later visualization. Getting back to the third stage. So first, we selected the output. Secondly, we define the inputs. Thirdly, we find the relationship between input and output through visualization. After you find this relationship, you have one of two outputs. First, what you are seeing on the graph is logical and can be business explainable. So it is fine. You don't have any issue with that. The second case, what you are seeing is not logical, something like this. So if you saw that, most of people who are having lower evaluation are actually staying, not leaving. It's something that is not logical. Now you start thinking, can I explain it from business perspective? Sometimes the answer is going to be yes. It's something like comparing the time spent with the company with the evaluation. Yes, from business perspective, I can explain the more time people are spending in the company, it might be negatively impacting their performance if they are working in a toxic and bad environment. So sometimes I can from business perspective, I can explain what I'm getting. And this is where it's very important to use your previous experience, because you need to utilize your experience to explain what you are getting from the visualization, not the other way around. The third and the last case is the visualization is giving you something that is not logical and you cannot explain it from business perspective. And at this case, you need to revisit your data. It's something like looking at the work accident and finding that the people who had work accident stayed in the company and the people who didn't have work accident left. Maybe the amount of data that you are analyzing is not big enough. So you will be seeing what we call outliers. Does it make sense? Yes, no? Makes sense? Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So yeah, perfect. Thank you. Okay. So what tool we are going to use to visualize this thing? Honestly, when it comes to visualization, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care much about what tool I'm going to use for visualization as long as we are going to use it right. So if you are going to use the data right, if you are going to use the data correctly, it doesn't actually matter what kind of data, what kind of visualization tool you are going to use. I'm not saying that there is no difference between visualization tools. Yes, there are lots of differences, but I would like to ask you a question. Do you think that your final audience, when they are looking at a dashboard, they are going, if they are not involved in the field, should they be able to tell whether this visualization has been built by Power BI, Excel, Tableau, QuickSight, or any other tool? Should they be able to tell the difference or should look the same? Yeah, they shouldn't. Yes, this is absolutely right. Yeah, 100% shouldn't. And this is why when it comes to visualization, so for example, in our case, I'm going to use Tableau. Doesn't matter if I'm going to use Power BI, not at all. And this is why I'm always saying that tool is just a tool. Tool is just something that's helping you to do what you want to do. And along my career, I didn't see anyone having an issue using the tool. It's always the issue before using the tool. In other words, if I have the design of the chart clear in my mind and I know what I'm going to plot against what, and more importantly, why I would like to present the leave state versus the number spent in the number of years spent in the company. If I know what I'm going to plot and why, the tool will not matter. The tool is just there to help me do this. What I have seen is most of time people are struggling with the visualization tools, not because they don't know how to use the tool, but because they don't know what they want to do. So trust me on that. Whenever you are loading the data into your visualization tool, whether it's Tableau, it's Power BI, or whatever, once you load the data into that and you just pause in front of the visualization tool, at this point of time, make sure that you are not going through an easy time. You will be struggling. Why is that? Because once you load the data and you open your visualization tool, you should have clear in mind what you are going to do. If this answer is not clear in your mind, you will be converted into a tool follower. So you will be just dragging and drop things on the chart and you just hoping that it's going to produce something and in most of cases, it doesn't. So whenever you are using any visualization tool, and this is why some people get a little bit irritated about that, but I believe this is very important. When it comes to visualization, I might be speaking, as you could see, we have 3 days boot camp, and I spend almost the first day, which is 30% or more than 30% of the boot camp, without building any visuals. In lots of other cases, I even spend more than this before building the first visualization, because what is before using the tool is actually way more important. And I believe that most of people out there are not struggling because the lack of skills using the tool, but they are struggling because it's not clear to them what they are going to use this tool for. But anyways, before we leave, let's at least build one chart using Tableau. If you logged back to the same Google Drive where you have downloaded this file from, you will find a doc file called links, and inside this links, you will find a download link for Tableau Public. So you will be having a good chance today to download it, and we will be working on it tomorrow in a practical way. Right now, I'm going just to create a simple chart. We are having only 1 minute left before we wrap up this session. Do you think 1 minute is enough to build a sheet? We'll see. Okay, perfect. So what do you want to present? I would like, for example, to see the rate of leaving versus the number of projects. Do you think 1 minute is enough? We'll see. Yeah, the chart is created. What we are seeing here, what is this? What we are seeing here is the sum of left, and left is, it means if it is 1, it means that this person has left. If it is 0, it's not counted. So what we are seeing here is the number of employees that has left the company. And you can see that the number of employees who has left the company is the maximum for 2 projects. So the people who continues to work on 3 projects, the number of people who left after working on 3 projects is way less. It's the minimum. If people start working on 4 projects, 5 projects, 6 projects, they are not, they are leaving even more. 7 projects, they are not leaving that much. This is, we are not putting some expectations. We are not talking about something logical. This is the actual that we are seeing. As you could see, we have been looking at the file for a significant amount of time. We can discuss this chart for a significant amount of time. The visualization stage itself, it didn't take more than 15 seconds to build the visual. So building the visual is not the thing that we are concerned about. It's about deciding what visual should be built and why, and how to explain the output that we are seeing from that visual. Very quickly, one insight I can derive from this, I would be saying that the people who has worked as 2 projects or less, maybe they have left too early, and that makes sense. The people who spend more time in the company, they are more about to stay. After 2, 3, and 4 projects, people are getting more experience, so they might be leaving the company. People who has worked after or for 7 projects or even more, they are staying in the company, and that make complete sense. Maria saying yes, yes, yeah. Tomorrow we will be. I'll be guiding you through the basics of Tableau. We will be loading the data together. We will be going through all these steps together. What's the meaning of columns? So basically, how to use the tool. But before, thank you so much. It's my pleasure. But before we learn how to use the tool, it's very important to learn what do we want to do. So we would like to build a chart. This chart is having an input and output, how we can map. So this is what we are going to discuss tomorrow, how we are mapping what we say today. I would like to present or to track some output versus some input to present some kind of message. Here, looking at this parameter or these features of Tableau, how to define the input, the output, and how to present. This is what we will be discussing tomorrow, inshallah. What are the factors of choosing the output? What do we base that on? Okay, very good question. Very good question. Choosing the output is always connected to the business problem that you are trying to solve. So, for example, here we are trying to solve the business problem of the high turnover. Lots of employees are leaving the company, and we would like to see what are the biggest influencers, what makes the people leave our company, what can we change so that we can reduce the amount of the turnover. This is what made our output is the lead. If we are trying to, for example, to look at how to increase the satisfaction level, I'm going to use the satisfaction level as an output. So it's based on the business problem that we are trying to solve. I'll be sharing the videos. Yes, definitely. I'll be sharing the videos. You will find everything within the Google Drive that I have shared with you early this morning. You will find this file, which is called links, the docs file, which is inside the Google Drive. I'm going to add the links to for this record today after we are done. So you'll be able to view it from there. Everything actually is going to be shared on that Google Drive till the end of the bootcamp. I'm not going to share any other links. If I would like to share any links, it's going to be inside the links file. If I would like to share with you any other files or data sets, it's going to be also applied to the same Google Drive. So you don't have to worry about different places. It's only one Google Drive where you will be able to find everything, the records, the material, the data sets, and everything. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Exactly. This is absolutely right. Now we are talking. Yes, 100%. That makes pure sense. And I'll share the link for the drive one more time. Yeah. So we are having here this insight, which is fantastic. Yes, people who are having 7 projects or more, they tend to be staying in the company because they might definitely get promoted. They are having higher positions. Maybe they are getting more intensive or they are getting some shares in the company. This is why they are not leaving. So yeah, definitely people who are having this experience will have less time to be there. Okay. Yes, exactly. They are going to be paid more. Yeah, definitely, 100%. And that makes sense because any organization, it has this pyramid shape. So definitely at certain point of time, people with 5 to 7 or 8 years of experience, they are having only one of two steps. Either they can step up or they can step out. They are not going to stay there. And this is why 5 and 6 are getting hired. So you have lots of capacity to include lots of people with 3 and 4. So what you would be interested in defining or what your decision might be about, you are not going to touch the rest or the whole graph. Maybe you might be thinking about how to reduce the turnover for the new joiners because the turnover in the other stages is not significant. It makes sense. And the turnover, the major turnover that you can apply, it's like 2080 rule. So you will be taking some corrective action for the people who have been working on 1 or 2 projects. to expand their lifetime in the company, that's going to significantly reduce the highest column. So this is how we can start thinking about it. One more time, I'm going to share the link right now of the drive. But what I said is, uh, as you can see, thinking about what graph to be displayed, that might take a while. Discussing the graph and understanding the meaning of the graph, that might take a while. Building the graph itself, it doesn't take more than a couple of seconds. And this is the correct way of analyzing your time. You shouldn't spend more than this building your graphs. And if you are spending more than a couple of seconds to build your graph, it means that the graph design was not clear in your mind in the beginning. So the business problem maybe is not clear. You have not decided yet what outputs you are going to display. So there is something that's not relevant to the tool. So keep the tool transparent and start thinking about the logical why you are using this tool from the first place. Any further questions? I have shared the link of the Google Drive one more time on the chat. Any further question? Everything's fine, all good? Okay. Thank you so much. Having that said, yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much, Christian. Thank you. So having that said, we come to an end of today's session. We tried understanding. Thank you so much, Moni. Thank you. So we tried to highlight the main aspects of uh, the visualization. What do we need visualization for? And not only how to use the tool. And I always recommend to everyone who is going to learn something, do not jump to the tool. There is a theory, there is a concept behind it. It's not about using the tool. It's about utilizing the tool for doing what you want to do. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being with you. Thank you so much all for joining again. I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, inshallah, same time we started today for another 2-hour session. Please make sure that you are having your Tableau installed with you tomorrow because we are going to use it. I'm going to keep my contacts right now. So if you are having any issues installing Tableau during today, please feel free to drop me a message. I'll be more than glad to support you with that in order to make sure that you are having your environment ready to use tomorrow. So this is my email and my LinkedIn profile. If you are getting any issue, please drop me a message. I'll be more than glad to help. Tomorrow, inshallah, we will be starting with defining or working with Tableau. What's Tableau used for? What are the main aspects? And most importantly, how we are going to map our knowledge for today to be used and applied easily and seamlessly using Tableau. This is what we are going to do tomorrow. Thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely day ahead, and I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. Thank you. Take care.